Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of year again, the greatest time of year for all things fitnessers. January is coming. All of our New Year's resolutions, guys, we're going to start writing them for the new year. But is that even a good idea, or is that a terrible idea? Are New Year's resolutions a bad idea? In this podcast, we'll talk about that a little bit. Dallas and I will share our vision for our health and fitness in the new year, and hopefully that will inspire you guys to get this year off to an amazing start. Stick around.
Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we hear and learn from our coaches, CrossFitters, and Glen Ed community leaders. Now, here are your hosts, Dallas and Greg.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we do get to talk with our CFE coaches, occasionally chat it up with our CrossFit athletes here at CrossFit Edwardsville, and sometimes talk with Glen Ed community business owners and leaders. So glad to have you all here. I am Dallas Amson, your co-host, your Communicate to Succeed coach. And with me, as always, my co-host, Coach G. Skill. How you doing, brother?
What is up, guys? Coach G here. I'm one of the coaching staff at CrossFit Edwardsville, and excited to hang out with Dallas here because it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Wonderful time
for fitnessers, because the new year is coming. It's almost here, Dallas, and it's time for all of us to pull our heads out of our bottoms and start figuring out what are we going to do with our fitness in 2023.
We got there. So you said a thing in the intro, which I found was very interesting, G. You said the thing about resolution.
Yeah.
You know, so many people, we go through the, what's the meme that makes its way around? Halloween is all about candy. Thanksgiving is all about pie. Christmas is all about cookies. And then New Year's is all about over boozing it. And it's like, you're not in flu season, you're in sugar coma season or something. Yeah. And so usually people let things slide over the holidays, and then we pick it back up. And we historically, I remember growing up, New Year's resolutions were a much bigger thing. It seems like when I talk to people now, they're like, no, I just have goals for the new year. Like goals that they want to institute and integrate, like introduce it into your life and integrate it into your life over the course of the year. Not I'm never eating French fries again, or what, you know. And then on January 5th, they're like, those fries look pretty good, you know, and they break their resolutions. That's what I've seen a shift, it seems, over the last decade, maybe, with that idea.
Sure. I think I've seen the same. I think it's probably a favorable shift where it's not a hard left on January 1st. It's an ongoing process and a journey. That's probably a good thing, because I have a real sense of ambivalence, a real love-hate relationship with this idea of New Year's resolutions in the first place. Mm-hmm. Now, first of all, on this podcast, we don't want to make no judgment on anybody, because we've all been there. Yeah. We've all done that. We've all said, tomorrow's going to be different. Monday's going to be different. January 1st is going to be different, right?
A few years ago, January 1st fell on a Monday. And it was like, whoa, new diet, new week, new month, new year, new me. And it was like, no, that's a bad concept maybe. but yeah, at some point, I was just talking with one of my clients about this today, because she's a life coach. But there comes a day where you finally say, I'm walking away from that forever. Mm-hmm. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve my future self. It doesn't necessarily make me feel better. It doesn't, there comes a time where you actually declare, like, this is my stake in the ground. And historically, people have done that over the New Year's resolution. But I think there's like a level 2.0, which is I'm putting this stake in the ground because we can pull up the stake, right? But I'm drawing this line and saying, okay, I may cross this line once or twice, but it no longer defines me. And I think that's an important distinction, maybe.
It's a really important turning point for a lot of people when, Tony Robbins talks about the power of a decision. Like when you finally decide, you know what, enough is enough. I'm making this change. I am no longer a smoker. I'm no longer a drinker. I'm no longer the person who medicates with food or whatever. That decision point is really important. For some people, hitting rock bottom is what drives that decision. Others can say, you know what, like, I'm just sick and tired of feeling this way, and I need to feel something different. But where I can struggle with the idea of New Year's resolutions. And I say this very non-judgmentally because I've been that guy. I've made those mistakes.
Sure.
Is the idea that when January 1st rolls around, all of a sudden I'm going to have all of this self-discipline muscle that I never had before. Right. So it can create a false sense. Now, I love that January 1st can present all of us the opportunity to kind of hit the reset button, clear the slate, get a fresh start. It's a brand new year. And what should be hopefully exciting for all of us is doing something fresh and different and new. For some people, that's doing CrossFit. For some people, it's eating in a healthier way. For some people, it's taking up meditation or yoga. But if that's what motivates you, awesome. Because I think that the flip side to the coin is whatever motivates and excites you to take action right here, right now is probably the right thing for you.
And we've talked about that. It's the thing that you want to do that you will do. The thing that excites you that will ignite you. And that's so much easier to, as you say, develop that muscle over time. Nobody's going to go in and deadlift 400 pounds on day one. Maybe Moosehead McGillicuddy over there, but that's a very rare thing that someone just steps in and they're a power lifter at their max reps and beating everybody really quickly. We develop the muscles over time. And sometimes that's bad days. Your shoulder ain't feeling it. But it's still we talked about this in our 100th episode. It's the commitment to consistency, right? It's like consistent, like, hey, just get up and swing the bat. And I think that's an important thing is, maybe on January 1st, you say, hey, I'm going to start swinging this particular bat. And I'm going to introduce it. I'm going to adjust it. And then hopefully I'm going to integrate it into my life.
Zig Ziglar said that, a lot of people claim motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing, which is why it's important to do it every single day.
Right.
And there is something to that with the idea that motivation will not necessarily last.
Yeah.
But if you can make a new healthy behavior, just what you do, whether you feel like it or not, that's where the real power lies. It's in the showing up to the gym when you don't feel like it, going on that run when you don't feel like it, doing the push-ups when you don't feel like it, taking some time on a Sunday to meal prep ahead when you don't feel like it. That is the nature of discipline, but it takes time to develop that, right? Like I grew up in a household where you ate whatever you wanted to, whenever you wanted to, and you got the results that you get from that. It took a long time for me to learn what does healthy eating look like, and then how do you create intelligent parameters where, okay, I eat this, I don't do this, I do this, I don't do this. Like, what are those intelligent boundaries so that I can actually start to see snowballing progress? It takes a while to get there. And Absolutely. So the journey itself is really important. And the more you can make the journey enjoyable, there's a great African proverb that I love that says, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go with others. And I know me, I'm the most introverted person you'll meet. And I know I just do better. Like, I don't even try to exercise alone anymore. Because if I go to the gym all by my lonesome, it's not a motivating experience. I got to have my CrossFitters around me in order to get my energy to where I can really push myself and explore my limits and get a great workout today, even when I'm not feeling like working out, if you know what I mean.
Yep. So, well, let's jump into it then. Do you have any goals?
Sure.
For 2000 and, oh my gosh, 23.
Well, I got a handful. So I'll share my first one with you, which is more like a general global statement.
Sure.
And maybe this is the ideal future self that I'm trying to step into. Dallas and I have discussed this concept before. So create that exciting future vision for yourself and then step into it. So here is my first statement of my exciting future vision. I easily enjoy insane amounts of energy, strength, and stamina to support all of my life goals listed above, which is just to say, I enjoy the health, the energy, the vitality that it takes where anything that I want to achieve professionally, anything I want to achieve relationally with friends, with family, with my son, I have the energy, the strength, the stamina that it takes to do that, and easily, an abundance. I got a storehouse of energy and vitality that's
Yep.
way above and beyond whatever I need to be my best professionally, relationally, and the health and the fitness stuff that I do down the list of the action items drives that. That's the first one for me.
So
Dallas, what is it for you?
let me just jump on that real fast here, because one of the things that anyone who's listened to this podcast, you'll hear me talk about your life macros. I've said it a few times over the course of time, but it's one of the things when I'm working with my coaching clients. So when we talk nutrition, we're talking usually proteins, carbs, and fats, hopefully good carbs and healthy fats. But proteins,
and those
carbs,
are macronutrients to our audience.
Those are the macronutrients. So for instance, a football player, a linebacker, has a different macronutrient need than, say, a marathon runner.
Sure.
And the football player needs more protein until game day, but the marathon runner has to carb load a little bit, et cetera. So depending on what your targets are fitness-wise and performance-wise depends on how you craft your macronutrients. Flip that over here to what I call your life macros. The life macros, there are 4 areas of your life that, if fed properly, you will be healthy. They are spiritual, physical, relational, and ultimately professional. Now, you can tell the person who has their macros out of whack because it's the multi-millionaire businessman who works 80, 90 hours a week, but is on his 3rd relationship, on his 3rd marriage.
Sure.
Or
estranged from their kids.
Estranged from their kids. So they focused on they put in way too much professional macro in there, not enough relational macro in there. Or another one, someone who is 200 pounds overweight but is on fire for God. It's that, and it's like, well, you're spiritual, you're feeding that spiritual really well, but you're not actually feeding your physical, which is going to serve you in your mission on this earth and your mission for God.
Yes.
We're on a mission for God. So if we think about spiritual, physical, relational, and professional in the right balance. Some seasons you need more carb loading, right, in your business. You got to work a little harder for a few weeks. But if you don't bring that back into balance, you're eventually going to get dis-at-ease in your life, diseased somewhere in your life. So I think what you brought up there, Chi, is your physical is really important because it helps fuel the relational, the professional, the spiritual even. And that's true. Our bodies serve our purpose.
Right.
They're designed to serve a purpose. So for me, the fight has always been, until recently, the fight has always been, I've thought restriction. So when it comes to my mindset around food and everything, it's like, oh, I'll never eat this again, or I have to restrict that, or have to cut that, and so there's been a real, it's hit up against all my scarcity stuff, and recognizing, and you and I've talked about this, the metaphor of quote unquote life athlete doesn't necessarily resonate with me as much as the metaphor of I need to be a skilled, honed warrior for my speaking career and for my coaching, and my body serves my mission. Not just the idea of athleticism is important within the game of war of life. So for me, that metaphor resonates a little bit more. My body is in service to my mission. Saying all that to say, though, it was like, oh, I'm restricting. And so I was at war with myself rather than realizing my body is in this game of life, sort of thing. So in my mind, what I am targeting right now is I am so happy and grateful. I'm not thinking about restriction. I'm not thinking tearing down old habits. Those old habits will get starved if I'm so busy working on the new habits.
Sure.
And I think that's an important, so many of us focus on the negative because we're trying to tear down the negative. I'm angry that I'm overweight. I'm angry that I'm fat. And it's like negative emotion, negative outcome. What do you think you're going to target? You're going to go through that same cycle of, well, now I have to restrict. Now I hate my body. Now I do this. Instead of saying, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm at my ideal weight that serves my mission on this earth, that I crave healthy foods. I'm not saying that I'm eliminating sugars. I'm not saying that I'm eliminating this. I'm craving paleo-focused healthy foods. And so I'm lean. I'm happy and grateful now that I'm lean, now that I'm powerful, now that I'm have better mobility, now that my back is in alignment and my shoulder's not, causing issues. my back and shoulder are fully healthy. I'm in the point right now where I'm really trying to target positive outcomes.
Yes.
Because positive outcomes lead to positive choices. Positive outcomes
Yes.
in the future lead to positive choices in the present, versus trying to avoid negative outcomes leads to negative choices, which eventually cycles me through to negative outcomes.
I get it. So for our audience here,
that was a big
Dallas,
fire hose. Sorry, everybody.
And it's a very valuable one, because what Dallas is describing is how he views himself, his identity around his health.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy for us to say, God, I'm so fat. I feel terrible. I'm a big slob. And like, you get into like that negative spiral situation.
Yeah.
For some people, like hitting the rock bottom can be a motivator and light the fire for them to pick themselves up and try something different.
Yeah.
But what Dallas is saying, and maybe this is true for you too out there in the audience, what Dallas does that's different is, instead of beating himself up and spending all this time and letting the negative energy make him feel terrible, he creates a much more empowered vision of himself, and he steps into that much more empowered vision. Yeah. He is strong. He is a leader. He's a warrior as a presenter. His body is part of the presentation he makes when he's on stage, and his body communicates winner. His body communicates, I've got it together. His body communicates, I've got energy, I've got vitality, I have an interesting, exciting message to share with you, and I deliver it with energy, a ridiculous amount of energy, because I am living the life as a warrior who performs at the highest level because of the things that I do every single day. It's just a different mind space. And if that is like, again, it's like at the start of this podcast, like whatever motivates you the most to go out and actually do something, because being motivated and then going right back to doing the same nonsense that got you in trouble in the first place is insanity. But if you can take a mindset, an identity, channel it toward productive action, now your New Year's resolution has some power behind it.
That's right. And it's when you fall into the cycle of you get triggered and then you fall into a behavior or you fall into a belief, and the trigger creates the behavior and the behavior creates a belief, and then the belief creates a trigger toward maybe trying to give yourself a lift out of that pit.
Sure.
The question I always ask people is, when will power run out on your willpower if you're targeting the wrong thing? And so for me, the muscle I'm exercising mentally and emotionally right now is the vision of the future me that I want to embrace, rather than the future me I want to avoid. Because I spent enough time feeling angry and scarce about the future I wanted to avoid. And in doing so, I put myself on the track to arrive at the future I want to avoid. Now I'm in total, like, no, I'm in, and it's not pie in the sky. It's not woo woo. It's no, what you think about, you become.
Right.
And so I am thinking about the things I want to be, and I'm thinking about the targets I want to hit. And here's a question. If I have a bow and an arrow and somebody says, don't shoot at that target, what do I naturally do? I turn away and I don't even aim at that target. If they're like, hey, avoid this target on your right, aim only for the target on the left, I don't even think, like, the best thing for me to do is not even look at the target on the right, or my arrow might go askew. I aim solely at the one target I want to hit. And I think for me, that's been a really powerful way to redesign my operating system and my relationship around food. The other thing too, G, that I'll say is I'm a guy who loves to diet on information. So one of the things in reshaping my mindset around food and around fitness is I just finished one book called Neander Thin, and it was an introduction to paleo. Like I studied paleo years ago, and I've got like the paleo diet cookbook and all of that. But I was like, something isn't clicking in my mind around this thinking. And so I just finished this book, Neander Thin. I am now in another book called Paleo Diet. I've got another one called The Paleo Answer that's on next. And it's just like in the evenings and in the mornings, I just read a few pages. And it's just allowing me to think in terms of eat this, not that, That's not a Paleolithic choice. This is, and what I'm finding is I'm actually starting to crave the other foods less.
Yeah,
like I was
because you're directing your effort toward the things that are energizing for you, for your life, the real whole foods. Because to our audience here, if you're new to what the paleo concept is, first, it's not the only way. It's not the only way. There are lots of solutions on a healthy eating track that can work, but the paleo thing, the idea is to eat whole foods, real foods that are actually found out in nature, foods that have
not
a
processed.
shelf life, perishable. They're not processed. They're not invented in a factory. They're actual whole real foods. And when you're eating whole real foods, your body gains a lot more nourishment, nutrients, energy from that. And you feel better, you look better, you perform better. So this is one way you can tackle it. But now, like metaphorically speaking, what Dallas is doing is every day he is planting some seeds about healthy eating into his mind by reading these books. Like every day, just a few pages to get these ideas, plant them into the thinker, and let them start to germinate and flower and blossom. Just plant the ideas there consistently and let them start to grow.
Yep. And I did it. I've done it for my business. I do it in my spiritual life. I am not a quantity reader. I don't need to read the Bible in a year or read 10 chapters at a time or this or that. I read until I get the nugget I need for that day. And and that's what I'm doing in the paleo thing now. And what I'm finding is, I think it was like a week and a half or so ago, we all went out and everybody wanted to get a cheeseburger. I ate half of that cheeseburger and it was like my body was rejecting
because your body knows better now. Your body
ketchup and the cheese and the bread, and my body was like, this is not filling you at all. And so like I pulled it off and just finished just the meat. And I was like, I gotta go drink spinach or something. This isn't working. I love my new spinach, but
what's cool about that is that your body, because you've been moving in this direction of the better, more empowered version of Dallas, now your body has become trained to recognize, oh, this is nourishment. This makes me feel great. This gives me great energy. And this is just calories. This is just allegedly food. This is not giving me, like, this doesn't jive with who I am.
Right.
Like, this does not suit my persona anymore. So that's very cool. And like this whole conversation neatly ties in my second goal, well, health fitness goal for the next year, is I easily improve my mental health and my emotional state through intentional mental training.
Yep.
I've
got targets in all four, the four macros. I have my spiritual targets, my physical targets, my relational targets, and my professional targets. And my professional flows out of the fullness of the other three. I'm better.
Sure.
I'm better in business when I'm better as a dad, when I'm better as a husband, when I'm more fit, when I have more energy, when I'm working out regularly. If I miss a few days, my wife will look at me and go, "Hey, your buildup's happening. Why don't you go throw some weight around?" Because she can see it.
Because she knows you better than anybody. She can tell you're becoming irritable and crabby, and you got to go blow off all the steam somehow. You need that outlet.
Yep. And so I would say if I were to put a word on my fitness target for the new year, it's going to be more. It's just going to be more consistency. It's not going to be. I struggled a lot this year with my back pain, and so the word for me this next year is developing consistency in my fitness, and the nutrition's. I've already starting developing that consistency. So continued consistency in that, acceleration in that nutrition, and then acceleration toward craving nutrient dense natural foods. And then building consistency in micro commitments of fitness.
Yeah. Which looks like what? What does that look like for you?
Usually that's going to be 3 days a week of lifting, pressing, or pulling. And it's going to be 3 days a week of some level of cardio / activity. Now that could mean on a Saturday, I go for a jog with my son before his martial arts class. Or it could mean that we just are all playing in the backyard and I'm throwing the football in 2 directions at Arthur and Lex.
Sure.
There's just more.
Could be a CrossFit one, an AMRAP.
Yeah, just more activity on my weekends and more consistency of, hey, if you only do 20 minutes of cardio, that was better than not doing 20 minutes of cardio.
Right. True facts.
So, and anything, if that's metabolic conditioning, Metcons, it's deciding what are the things that, and really what we do in CrossFit here, G, is we focus on the functional fitness.
Yes.
So when it comes to like moving furniture, I'm usually one of the biggest guys in the room of like, let's lift that over our head and go. So the strength side is just like continue consistency in that. But I want to, my goal is to actually lean out a little bit with more strategically focused metabolic conditioning.
Well, cool. I have a few specific fitness outcomes I'm looking forward to achieving this coming year. I'll work through these kind of.
You're going to be like 5% in this, 3% in that. You're going to be like that coming at me with percentages.
Yeah, you know me, man. So the very first one, I'm going to be in the top 10% of the world in terms of my fitness as measured by my performance in the CrossFit Open.
Yep.
So I level up to the 40 to 45-year-old category
this
year.
He's there.
I know. I'm the spring chicken in the division, which that both makes things easier and harder for a host of reasons I won't get into now.
Yep.
But it is my goal to score again in the top 10% of the world in terms of my fitness as measured by performance in the CrossFit Open, which is observable, measurable, repeatable, real data set. That's the first one. Second, I will easily and consistently improve my jiu-jitsu skill. I also want to get better at that and all things that go with it, the wrestling, to some extent striking, but being better able to grapple effectively and develop that skill set. That's another one. And then a third one, I easily develop above average snowboarding skill. That's another skill that I want to spend more time on. And for each of these outcomes that I'm stepping into, I have a specific list of activities. For example, in terms of being the top 10 of the world in my fitness, I'm going to back squat, press, front squat, deadlift, clean, snatch weekly, do CrossFit WODs 4 times a week, stretch 4 times a week for flexibility. On the jiu-jitsu side, I'm going to train a minimum of twice per week, or when circumstances permit. I'll watch jiu-jitsu training videos 1 to 2 times a week. I'm going to focus on an area of jiu-jitsu monthly. Right now, it's wrestling and submission escapes. To get better at that category, I'm going to go snowboarding at least twice this calendar year before the year is out. Excited. My little brother, Chris, shout out to C Scale, has just moved back to Colorado, and he lives close to the ski resorts there. Yeah, so hopefully, fingers crossed, I can go hang out with him in Colorado this winter. And shout out to all the Breckenridge area ski resorts. I'm hoping to descend school marm again this year, and hopefully without crashing this year.
I love it. So everybody, a thing for you to think about is, what do you want to introduce, and then what do you also want to plan to integrate? How do you plan to integrate it? Because again, I once heard somebody say, you don't actually lose momentum, you give up momentum, which is a really empowering way to think about it. So where in your life can you introduce the new behaviors that you've been thinking about for a while, and just go, I'm going to draw the line here, and I'm going to start developing consistency in this area. And if it's a new skill, like G mentioned, snowboarding, I know he's done it a few times, but one of the things I forgot to say, G, was I plan to pick up archery this year in 23.
Sweet.
I mentioned the arrows. One of my things this year is to start doing archery and learning that.
That's really cool, man. Like a lot of the most successful men that I'm aware of are big fans of archery, and the many benefits that go beyond just being able to hit a target. It goes way deeper than that.
Yep. And so I'm looking forward to Zen and the art of archery in 23. But everybody, again, the thing I would say for you is consider the thing that you've been thinking about. I know I need to do this, and or I know I want to do this, and it's going to serve my future self. What is the thing you can introduce in the coming year so that you can hopefully tweak and say, this is for me, this isn't for me, I need to tweak it and adjust it and go here? Because ultimately you want to integrate it, introduce it, and then integrate it. And I think if you consider that for yourself this year, you're also going to be miles ahead of anyone else who said, I'm going to do a resolution and they stop on week 2. You're like, no, I'm going to start with half a mile, then a mile, then 2 miles, then 3 miles. And then you build up that muscle over time, proverbially speaking about those miles, by the way.
And I want to take that one step further too, that if you're out there in the audience, create for yourself, so to speak, an alter ego, a more compelling future vision of yourself. Yes. What is the best version of yourself that you can picture in your mind?
Yeah.
Make it as crystal clear, make that vision plain, and make it exciting to you. How do you want to look? How do you want to feel? How do you want to perform?
Yep.
Create an exciting vision for yourself. Feel it in your heart and your soul. Then step back to today and identify, what are the seeds you can plant today? What are some little things you can start today that are totally livable, that move you in that direction? Create a big, exciting vision. Come back to today. Pick 2 or 3 very small, maybe like one really small thing. Plant that seed today. Don't wait till January 1st to do this, by the way. If you're hearing this in December, plant the seeds here in December. Start getting some little wins, some momentum. Get that momentum, and then just keep it. Don't give it up.
Momentum is built moment by moment. That's the literal definition of the word.
Win this moment right now. Win this moment right here.
And don't beat yourself up if you fail. Just get back on the momentum. One more step in the right direction. And I love that idea you said there, G. You picture it and then you emotionalize it. You internalize and you emotionalize and make the reality of the future self now, so that you actually just begin naturally targeting that person that you're going to become. Yeah.
I love it. It's been a good time, man.
This was conversation today. We planned to go 12 minutes. We went way more than that because these are the conversations I love. So everybody, as you're looking to do that, maybe you're going to decide whether or not CrossFit Edwardsville is part of what the moments and the momentum that you want to create in this coming year. We would love to have that conversation with you, but we want to make sure you know that we're legit. In case you've listened to this and you're like, wait, are these guys legit? Yes. You can go check us out. Put in Google CrossFit Edwardsville. Just type that into Google. You can read one of hundreds of 5-star positive reviews. You can also connect with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at CrossFit Edwardsville. And then when you are ready, when you're like, okay, there's some stuff, we've got resources like ebooks on our website. So you can go to CrossFitEdwardsville.com. You can check out some of our resources, but the most important step you need to take is it's a button there on the homepage, and it says book a no sweat conversation. We would love to have the conversation with you about your next step in your journey in fitness and in health and in life to help you look better, feel better, and perform better, as G. Skell said it there just a moment ago. And again, you just click that button, book a no sweat conversation at CrossFitEdwardsville.com. We'd love to see you in our community, and we hope to see you crushing it in 2023. So G. Skell, thank you for this very fun, in-depth conversation. Always love chatting with you, my man.
No, thank you, sir. Thank you. I sent it right back your way. Thanks to our audience for joining us today. Hopefully you guys had a good time. Feel free to drop us a like or share or subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next podcast. Till then, have yourselves an amazing, beautiful, and blessed rest of your day.